Hi, I'm Will Studd and welcome to Cheese Slices. For this show, I've travelled to the north of Italy and the province of Parma. Behind me is a magnificent castle that was once the home of the Duke of Parma, but the reason I'm here is to look at the king of cheeses, Parmigiano Reggiano. Along the banks of the Po River in the north of Italy lies the delightful old city of Parma. Joined to its sister city Reggio by the ancient Roman road known as Via Emilia, it is steeped in history and was once home to Napoleon Bonaparte's second wife, Maria Louisa of Austria. It has also produced such talents as the artist Correggio and more recently film director Bernardo Bertolucci. The world-famous ham Prosciutto di Parma takes its name from the city, as does the undisputed king of Italian cheese, Parmigiano Reggiano, in combination with the city of Reggio. Distantly related to small ancient ewe's milk cheeses made in this part of Italy since Etruscan times, Parmigiano Reggiano is a dry, long-keeping Grana, or grainy cheese made in large wheels from cow's milk. Its origin is credited to a 12th century monk who is said to have devised a special method of breaking and heating the curds to expel the whey. Whatever the truth of this, it has developed a quite extraordinary reputation for quality over the centuries as a benchmark cheese. This is still the case thanks to an enduring respect for tradition, dedication to quality, and a strict system of self-regulation. Since 1955, a consortium of producers has controlled every single cheese that carries the name, determining where and how the cheese is made, and even when it's ready to be sold. Parmigiano Reggiano can only be made in specific areas within the provinces of Parma, Reggio Emilia, Modena, and a small part of Bologna and Mantova. As you would expect, this relatively large area produces quite diverse milk quality, and the very best cheeses are said to come from Reggio Emilia and Parma, or the southern slopes of the surrounding hills. But that, of course, depends on who you're talking to. Some of the very finest Parmigiano Reggiano is found at BNA SRL, a family-run company based in Parma. Head of the family is Guido Bianchi, and like his father, he's been involved with selecting the best of this great cheese all his life.
It seems that it has been produced.
Our story begins on the family farm, where a herd of well-loved Frisian cows are kept in a large open barn. This intensive farming method is now the norm in Italy, and the barn is a bit like a restaurant for cows, which under consortio rules are only fed on fresh grass and hay cut from the region. What the cows eat is important for milk quality and the quality of cheese, as Guido explains.
This is the first act that we have in order to have a good production of milk and of Parmesan cheese. It's the preparation of hay especially for the winter time, but even during the summer time, because always we supply hay with other cereals like soya, maize, and barley to the cow.
Considering that more than 3 million wheels of Parmigiano Reggiano are produced a year, you might be surprised to learn that the cheese is still made on an incredibly small scale. Modern labour-saving shortcuts are virtually unheard of. Even large bulk road tankers for carting milk are banned because they could alter the quality of the milk. There are more than 500 small cheese dairies, and on average, each produce just 10 cheeses a day. Observing the transformation of milk into cheese is fascinating, but in the case of this particular cheese, the process is magical. Cows are milked twice a day. And the first step in the process is to rest the unpasteurised warm evening milk in shallow stainless steel trays overnight. By morning it has ripened and the cream has risen to the surface. The low-fat milk below the cream is then drained into giant shining copper cauldrons. Once this low-fat milk has been transferred, the remaining cream is collected for making mascarpone or butter, which in earlier times was considered a great luxury. There's no form of commercial starter cultures used here, and the whey collected from the previous day's cheese making is carefully nurtured to ensure it is full of lactic bacteria. As you'd expect, the coagulant is also traditional calf rennet, which is said to give a much better flavour than modern substitutes. Fresh, warm, unpasteurised milk arrives from the morning milking and is poured into the waiting cauldrons. The two milks are then gently combined using a mechanical overhead mixer. Minutes later, the prepared starter culture is added and the milk begins its transformation to curds and whey. Then the rennet is added. This will help the curds to knit together. These cauldrons have a steam jacket and are heated to approximately 35 degrees centigrade over the next 10 to 12 minutes whilst the delicate curds form. In order to cut the curds, a long-handled tool called a spino is used. In the 12th century, the monks used a branch of hawthorn bush called bianco spino. The head cheesemaker checks the consistency of curd, and when he's happy it's just right, he makes the decision to start cutting it into tiny rice-sized grains. At this point, the curds are stirred again as the temperature of the cauldrons are slowly raised to 55 degrees in order to cook the swirling curds so that they shrink and release yet more whey. A thermometer is used to check the temperature, and the curd texture is carefully judged using a ladle to ensure that tiny pieces of curd will knit together. This mimics what is happening at the base of the cauldron, where a giant ball of curd is forming. The hot gelatinous ball is carefully manipulated into a large cloth using wooden paddles. These balls of curd weigh about 90 kilos, and the skill and strength of 2 cheesemakers is required to complete the task. What you're witnessing here is the birth of a Parmigiano Reggiano. At this stage, the curd weighs 90 kilos. A little later on, a big knife will cut it in half, and you'll have 2 cheeses weighing about 45 kilos each. Five minutes after the curd has been lifted, it is carefully cut in half, and a pair of cheeses are born. Each new cheese is transferred to separate cloths to drain. They are now ready to start the long process of becoming Parmigiano Reggiano. Watching the birth of this great cheese is fascinating, and for a cheese lover like myself, well, it's just like alchemy. Curd balls are removed from their bags and washed in fresh water before being placed in circular plastic forms. creation date is then marked on the surface using a special vegetable dye. The next day, these cheeses are remoulded and tattooed with the first of their all-important identification marks. A lot of people ask me how Parmigiano Reggiano gets the imprint on the rind. The secret is this plastic sleeve. Across the top of it are all these little imprints with a name. And on each cheese, they have the date and the month of production. The plastic sleeves must be purchased each year from the Consorzio. The quantity issued is strictly controlled according to the proven milk capacity of the dairy to prevent any funny business. After 3 days, the unmoulded cheeses are floated in a saturated brine solution for between 24 and 27 days. This salty bath draws out more moisture and also helps toughen the rind. The cheeses are rotated and turned regularly to ensure the entire wheel is covered by the brine. Parmigiano Reggiano, every cheese must be matured for a minimum of 12 months before being graded and officially branded with the famous name. To guarantee the standard of every cheese, the Consorzio of Parmigiano Reggiano provide a unique system of maturation and grading. Most cheeses are moved from the farms to huge co-op facilities when they are young, a system which helps the farmer with cash flow and ensures control over quality. The selection and maturation of the very best of these cheeses is undertaken by specialist family concerns.
Hey Giorgio, what are you doing? Playing the drum?
I'm using the hammer to understand if in the cheese there's a kind of mistakes, like little cracks
yeah.
or little hole, and I use the hammer.
And if there's a little crack or a little hole, how does the sound change?
It's just a thing that you can understand with your heart and the sensibility of your hand.
How long did that take you to learn?
I have to do this job for many, many years.
Now tell me about all these wonderful cheeses here. They're all looking very shiny. Tell me why.
Because it's shiny, because in this period, we are in September, end of summer, they stop to get outside oil, natural breath of the cheese.
They weep oil naturally.
Yeah, absolutely, completely.
They're not oiled with olive oil or anything?
No.
So you don't
It's
think...
natural,
Yeah.
no.
Giorgio Crevero's family have been maturing Parmigiano Reggiano for over 100 years, and their cellars are located at Bra, a small town in the centre of the Piedmonte region. Like his great-grandfather, grandfather and father, he is a staginatore, a maturation specialist who is responsible for the selection and ripening of all the cheeses housed in his cellars.
We seasoned between 150 years because my great-grandfather, Giorgio, as me, began the activity during approximately 1850.
Wow.
And we continue to do the same thing.
Always the same
father
name?
and son, father and son.
Always the same name?
It's very fun because my grandfather was Giorgio, his son was Giacomo, his son was Giorgio, his son, my father, Giacomo. My name is Giorgio, and I have a little boy of 2 years, Giacomo.
Ah, bravo.
It's funny.
That's a lovely story.
Yeah, it's funny.
And tell me the importance of Parmigiano Reggiano to Italy.
Parmigiano Reggiano, listen, there are many brands famous all over the world as of good food and good wine. Parmigiano Reggiano is known all over the world, just second after Champagne. Yeah, but the 90% of the production of 3 million wheels a year is cutted and consumed in Italy.
Here in Italy?
In Italy, yeah. But during the last 5 years, export every year is growing and the quantity is higher than the year before.
The temperature in these cellars is 14 degrees and humidity 85%, just warm enough to ensure a little of the fat in the cheese slowly weeps through the rind. To avoid any surface moulds from forming and altering the character and flavour, the entire surface of each cheese is regularly rubbed using soft brushes. These days, all this turning and brushing is undertaken by robots, guided on rails and controlled by a computer, thus saving thousands of man-hours.
Hey, Giorgio, this looks fantastic.
Oh yes, Will.
What have we got here?
The most popular way to use our cheese in Italy.
There's one thing missing.
Just Parmigiano Reggiano.
Well, let's have some.
Okay.
Come on. Tell me, this is always the way to eat Parmigiano Reggiano?
It's the best way.
The best way, not just by itself?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay, fantastic. And your father and you always have this dish at lunchtime like
Yeah,
this?
like the 90% of Italian people.
Lovely, look at that. And this is the local wine?
And George.
Yes.
Local one, Barolo.
From down the hill there?
Yeah.
Okay,
Down the hill in that direction.
good.
So,
Have a seat, let's eat.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Grazie.
Hey.
Salute. Salute.
Salute.
Can you ask your father what he likes about the flavour?
Cosa ne pensi del sapore?
Molto buono, dolce.
Sweet.
È molto stagionato ma è molto dolce.
He said it is long matured, but it continues to stay sweet
Molto
and
importante.
full of
che-
flavor.
Not to be outdone, back at the Bianchi family home in Parma, a delicious meal of local sausage and zucchini pasta was being lovingly prepared.
Keep away, keep away.
Starting to smell good, eh? Cheers.
Cheers.
Lovely.
Cheers. Cheers.
Thank you for having us.
This type of cheese is far too hard to cut with a wire, so it is split. This is a skilled job, as Alberto Bianchi demonstrates.
Il formaggio Parmigiano Reggiano ha 2 anni, è giunto il momento.
When the Parmesan cheese has been maturing for 2 years, it is time to check its quality to ensure that the cheese has reached its full flavor.
Effettivamente il formaggio è giunto alla giusta maturazione.
A set of special knives and a great deal of practice is required to break open the cheese. But Alberto makes it look easy, so that after only a minute or so, I'm presented with 2 delicious halves. Also mature cheese and package them on the premises for export and sale to the local market. Not all Parmigiano Reggiano are the same, and there are a number of important factors that define the quality. The main ones are maturation age, structure and texture, paste colour and consistency, smell and rind condition. The shorter the number displayed on the rind, the older the company who manufactured the cheese. Unless the cheese is quite exceptional, most are past their prime after 30 months and are sold off cheaply for grating. Now you've seen how it's made, it's easy to understand why Parmigiano Reggiano has such a great reputation. But believe it or not, it has a cousin that's been around for even longer and is more popular. Grana Padano is produced and controlled in a similar way, but on a much larger scale with milk collected from a wider defined area of northern Italy. Feed regulations are not as strict and the quality of milk and cheese is much more varied, but the upside is that the cost of production is lower and this is passed on to the customer.
Not many people know that Grana Padano is the more consumed cheese in Italy, but not only in Italy, all over the world. Is the DOP first cheese in Europe, almost 1,000 years old in the Padana Valley, and that's also the origin of the name Grana Padano. It's two words together, which means grana, the grainy texture of the pasta of the cheese, and Padano, which means from the Padana Valley.
You can recognize the true cheese by this small identification mark. This is also the identification number of the cheese factory, and the cheese cannot be considered true Grana Padana without this trademark stamped on it.
Grana Padano, and especially cheese for Italian people, is something linked to their tradition. As we see in this beautiful room, all these items were something linked to the life of farmers and old Italian who was living in the countryside. Of course, now times are changing and it's a little bit different, but still Grana Padano is in our table. So make it Grana Padano every day will be our rules.
Both these great cheeses are considered by most of us to be Italian Parmesan. However, rules introduced in 2003 mean that only Parmigiano Reggiano can officially be called by the name Parmesan. Whether grating for pasta or simply eaten as a table cheese, there is no substitute for Parmigiano Reggiano or Grana Padano. These benchmark cheeses are a legacy to generations of Italian cheesemakers. Why not be your own judge and taste the difference?
Grazie, ciao a tutti, arrivederci. Ciao.